Hey everyone, welcome to the first episode of our Needle Devlog. With this new format, we're trying to give you better insights on what's going on at Needle, what features and fixes have landed, and what's coming next. We're all about creating high-quality interactive web experiences, and so we're always improving and changing things. Let's quickly walk through what's new and what's coming next. I'm going to start with the 4.2.0 release, which came out 3 weeks ago, which is the latest minor version that's live. First of all, we removed some of the old fallbacks we had for the MXink. And if you don't know what that is, we have a couple of samples for it. It's the cool XR pen that LogiTech made, with which you can draw in VR using a real pen. And that's now fully supported on Quest. We were part of the very early tests at Meta on getting this right. And now it's fully supported in Needle Engine and WebXR. And you can paint stuff and draw things. It's quite nice. We also changed how on VisionOS we're requesting hand tracking. So most experiences for VisionOS don't need the actual hands. They need pointers for input. And so by default now we're only requesting the pointers so that you get like nice cut out arms and hands and so on. And we also changed how mesh tracking and occluders work on Quest. Like when you have room understanding in your WebXR application, that you get nice meshes for that, and that now works easier than before. We also adjusted stuff in our Unity integration. So we have automatic texture and mesh optimization for quite a while now. And we changed how that works by basically adding a couple new options in the compression options, where you now have like one place to make all these settings, because we saw a lot of people miss this. Like Needle has all these optimizations built in, but previously it was a bit hard to find that. And so it's now all in one place. In the 4.2.2 release, we changed some stuff related to how Quick Look works on iOS. So when you have a scene in Needle and you open the AR mode on iOS, we're automatically converting your scene to Apple's Quick Look format. And sometimes things break there because Apple changes something that's not well documented and so on. And in this case, we made a workaround for a recent change in image tracking. So now it works again. We also fixed a couple of regressions that were introduced by our large three.js update we did a couple of weeks ago. So now lighting and environment maps work better, more similar to how they worked before that three.js update. Another interesting change is that we simplified how the event system works. Previously, you needed a object raycaster somewhere in your hierarchy if you wanted to click on stuff. Now it's automatically created because a lot of our optimizations still make it fast. So we can turn it on automatically again, and you don't need to add these components manually. The 4.2.4 release added a couple of exciting things to OrbitControls. For example, the ability to automatically target a point on where you're rotating on the scene. And that looks like this. Like imagine you have a model like this. When you're moving the camera around, previously you would have to manually select which point you want to focus and rotate around. And we changed that so that now we're automatically finding a good position to rotate around and to like move your camera around. And that generally makes it a lot easier to just find the right thing in the scene. You can see that I'm always like rotating around a specific point now and not just some random point inside the model. We also fixed a couple of things related to skinned meshes on iOS, where if you had a super complicated bone hierarchy in your model, we're now doing a better job at converting that to USD so your model still looks the same. And last but not least, there was a change in the FBXLoader. Basically, when you previously had slightly broken FBX files where like some of the materials were not actually right, the loader would just not load them. And we changed that because we found actually it's quite common to have somewhat broken FBX files. So now these incorrect material assignments just work. The 4.2.5 release brought more of like similar changes. For example, for FBX loading, we're now keeping vertex colors intact. Like this is an FBX file loaded in Needle Engine. Previously, this would not have vertex colors, Now we're keeping that and carrying it through if you convert to GLB and so on. There was also an interesting edge case for context shadows. Like for all of our scenes, we're automatically building context shadows if you want that ground your model in the scene in reality. And previously that was interestingly broken when you had a mix of topologies in the scene. Like here we have points, we have lines, and we have meshes. And there was some weird flickering before caused by the lines rendering strangely in the shadows. And now that works much better, so you get a nice clean shadow as well. And there were a couple of other under the hood changes, like on how BoxColliders work nicer and just fit better to the objects you're adding them to. And our DropListener, where you can like drop files on your app, which is a very powerful feature. Like a lot of model viewer style applications are using this. Now exposes more of the arguments so that you can build more complex things on top of our existing like drop events. So that covers the updates in the current 4.2 release cycle. And we can also take a quick look at what's coming next. So the way we are making releases is that we're usually making releases very often daily or at least multiple times a week. And we're putting these into alpha versions. And you may have seen that if you send us a bug report or so in the past, like we're quick to fix it and then point you at, hey, please try it in this and that alpha version. And what we're trying in these videos is also showing you a little bit of what you can expect coming with new alpha versions. What we're trying in this new video format is also showing you a bit of what you can expect to come in these alpha versions, because that's ultimately what's going to land in the next minor release. A lot of the changes that we did throughout this current alpha cycle is around the scene switcher, around asset reference, generally loading models, and so on. And the reason for that is that we started working on a new demo for like standalone car physics to demonstrate really how can you make a game using cars, using physics, using many different scenes, and so on. So basically, we have a variety of different cars to choose from. These are all like physical. I can drive around here. There's the Rapier physics engine that we're using under the hood is in full effect here and models all the cars and the wheels and how everything interacts with each other. And there's a lot of dynamic things in here, like switching between different types of cars with different physical properties. This one is really cool and bumpy. Two like very weird ones that show like this is not strictly speaking a car, but you can actually make cool applications with that. Or we have our little UFO here as well. So yeah, this uses a lot of model switching and scene switching and loading things in and out. And based on that, we improved a couple of these things in Needle Engine as well. And that's currently in alpha, so you can try it already, but then landing in the next release. We also added a lot more API documentation. So this is something a lot of people are asking about, better docs and understanding more what happens when. And I think about a third or so of our components now have much better documentation for all the various properties and so on. We're also working on improving the export time from the Unity integration so that things are faster and smoother, and you can jump even quicker from editing in Unity to what you see in the browser. Yeah, and there was an issue with EditorSync, which is our tool to bring your changes to the browser. And that was now fixed as well for Needle Engine 4. And the latest alpha release, just from yesterday, adds a couple changes in AR so that you can more easily adjust how a scene in AR is scaled. So that's often useful if you have like an architectural scene or a product that someone is scaling up and down with 2 fingers in AR. And now it's much easier to control that programmatically, to reset it or change it and so on. Yeah, that's it for this update. If you have any feedback or suggestions, let us know in the comments. You can find a written version of all these changelogs in the description. It's all our changelogs are on GitHub, and you can go through it and see it there. Yeah, and if you don't want to miss any future updates like this, please hit the subscribe button and see you in the next video.